The studio was filled with the rich odor of roses, and when the light summer wind stirred amidst the trees of the garden, there came through the open door the heavy scent of lilac. In the center of the room stood the full-length portrait of a young man of extraordinary beauty. Some little distance away was sitting the artist himself, Basil Hallward. "How sad it is," murmured Dorian Gray, with his eyes fixed upon his own portrait. "I shall grow old and horrible and dreadful, but this picture will remain always young. If only it were the other way, if it were I who was to be always young, and the picture that was to grow old. I'd give my soul for that." One evening, Dorian determined to go out in search of some adventure, soon losing his way in a labyrinth of grimy streets. He passed by an absurd little theatre and found himself seated in a private box before Romeo and Juliet. He was rather annoyed at the idea of seeing Shakespeare in such a wretched place. But Juliet! Imagine a girl hardly 17 years of age with eyes that were violet and lips like the petals of a rose. She was the loveliest thing Dorian had ever seen. Her name was Sybil Vane. After the performance, he went behind and spoke to her. She had never seemed more exquisite. His lips moved towards hers. They kissed. It seemed to Dorian that all his life had been narrowed to one perfect point of rose-colored joy. Following notice of their engagement, Dorian invited friends to see his beloved Juliet. Amidst an extraordinary turmoil of applause, Sybil Vane stepped onto the stage. Yet her performance was curiously listless. The audience lost their interest and whistled, and the curtain went down on a titter. Humiliated, Dorian rushed behind the scenes. "You used to stir my imagination," he told her. "Now you don't even stir my curiosity. How mad I was to love you. You are nothing to me now." Dorian turned on his heel and left the theatre. Where he went to that night, he hardly knew. He wandered through dimly lit streets, past black-shadowed archways and evil-looking houses. Women with hoarse voices and harsh laughter called after him. Drunkards reeled by, cursing and chattering to themselves like monstrous apes. Sybil Vane was found lying dead on the floor of her dressing room. She had swallowed some dreadful thing. "So, I have murdered Sybil Vane," said Dorian Gray. "Murdered her as surely as if I had cut her throat with a knife." His eye fell upon the portrait Basil Hallward had painted of him. The expression looked different. There was a touch of cruelty in the mouth. It had altered already, and would alter more. The portrait must be hidden. Dorian asked a servant for the key of the schoolroom at the top of the house. There was no place so secure from prying eyes as this. No one would ever look upon the horrible thing. No eye but his would see his shame. What the worm was to the corpse, his sins would be to the painted image. Dorian sought oblivion. In dens of horror, where the memory of old sins could be destroyed by the madness of sins that were new. One cold and foggy night, a man passed Dorian in the mist. It was Basil Hallward. Dorian made no sign of recognition and went on quickly in the direction of his own house. Hallward had seen him. Let me come in for a moment. I have something to say to you. I think it right that you should know that the most dreadful things are being said against you. If you tell me that they're absolutely untrue, I shall believe you. But to know for sure, I should have to see your soul. A bitter laugh broke from Dorian's lips. You shall see it yourself tonight. Come, it is your own handiwork. The lamp cast fantastic shadows on the wall and staircase. A rising wind made the windows rattle. Dorian set the lamp down on the floor and, taking out the key, turned it in the lock. An exclamation of horror broke from the painter's lips as he saw in the dim light the hideous face on the canvas. Basil seized the lighted candle and held it to the picture. In the left-hand corner was his own name. An uncontrollable feeling of hatred for Basil Hallward came over Dorian, as though suggested to him by the image on the canvas, whispered into his ear by those grinning lips. Dorian rushed at him with a knife. There was a stifled groan and the horrible sound of someone choking with blood. Dorian stabbed him twice more, until the man did not move. As he had killed the painter, so too would he kill the painter's work. Dorian would kill the past, and when that was dead, he would be free. He raised the knife, and with it stabbed the picture. The cry was so horrible that the frightened servants woke and crept out of their rooms. When they entered the schoolroom, they found hanging upon the wall a splendid portrait of their master as they had last seen him, in all the wonder of his exquisite youth and beauty. Lying on the floor was a dead man with a knife in his heart. He was withered, wrinkled, and loathsome.